Y aquí estamos, de vuelta. Ahora cambiamos de idioma. We're going to speak in English because we have two wonderful guests who are here in Barcelona to perform at one of the evenings hosted by Mutek at Nizza. Here we have two of the two main components of the project Flabbergast. How are you?
The two only components.
The two only, really, yeah.
We like to think of your studio as another component. So
That's true. It's true.
Yeah.
Yeah, definitely.
Well, here they are with us, Guillaume Coutu Dumont and Vincent Lemieux.
Muy bien.
Good.
Yeah. My
Good pronunciation. That's perfect. That's rare.
Yeah, gold star for me.
Exactly.
I mean, Guillaume could answer in Spanish. Like if
Whatever is
he
easier.
speaks really well, so
Yeah.
I think it would be nice for your audience that he speaks. I can't at the moment.
Then we'll keep it in English.
yeah.
We're polylinguistic on this
yeah,
radio.
exactly.
We're Catalan, Spanish, English, French, whatever it takes. People
Makes
understand.
apart from the bit later where we start to speak specifically about you, then we're going to go into Spanish. So you're
Exactly.
never know. So you are Flabbergast, as we mentioned, and you're playing tomorrow night at Nizza, but you're also other things. Vincent, you were saying you've programmed Mutek for 25 years now?
Yes, my 25th anniversary this year.
Wow.
Because the festival is 26 years now, so I didn't work on the first year. I attended the festival and I met Alain because back then we were selling tickets, and we met because I used to work at a record shop that was next doors from the office. And back then, in those days, the record shop was the hub where you get information about music. So we kind of
Incidentally,
connected.
it was the name of the record shop.
No, the hub was
the other one.
Yeah. It was called Rotation.
Yeah.
And so I started working, and I've been working since then. I work year round, but part time. Because I just do the music programming. There's so much more to the festival, but I basically concentrate on the music programming.
For all cities, wherever Mutek...
No. That's the thing about Mutek, is that it's not a model that's where the head base is doing the programming. We work with people that are in the cities. Basically, they came to us and asked Mutek if they could do an event, and so they do the programming because they know better. I mean, we coordinate, we check. I mean, and it's Mutek is a network. That's the great thing about it, is that it's like-minded artists that. So sometimes they come and play in Montreal, and they would do the other festivals. But since one of the mandate from the festival is to have 50% of artists coming from the local artists. They are better in knowing who are the artists, and they know which artists can attract people and which one will work in their context. So it's completely different in Mexico than it is in Japan, in Montreal. We have all different markets, so it's kind of... So we kind of supervise, we check what they are doing, but most of them have been doing it for a couple of years now, so they know exactly what they can do and how they manage to do it.
Because here you work with our own Pau Christoffel, no?
Yeah. We work together with Alberto as well, and there's like people. We have like one in Japan, there's one in Mexico, there's one in Barcelona. Argentina has one, and we did other ones.
In Dubai?
In Dubai, we did two times.
What was it like in Dubai? Because we never think of Dubai having like a scene, no?
That's kind of the problem, I think. Yeah.
Well, what they
kind of
did,
a moving scene.
Yeah, but what they did was really great. They did local stuff, but it was not from Dubai. It was like the surrounding countries. So they had the Iranian artists. They had
Qatari, I think.
Yeah, Qatari. They had from Lebanon, I think, from Palestine. One artist was from Palestine. So they have like a network around, and so they do a bit the same thing, but it's not, because for sure it's mainly foreigners that live there, and the people in Dubai don't. It's not a really active scene, but it is in a certain way, which is a good way for them to promote artists from
and to build something from there.
Yeah, exactly.
And develop the scene.
And Guillaume, I believe you are the only artist that's played in all of the editions of Mutek.
Actually, no. There's one that I missed the gauntlet because I never played in San Francisco. There's 2 editions, I think, in San Francisco, and I never attended. But it's now defunct, so.
But it's probably
it's like if one of the Himalayan summit that disappeared.
Yeah.
So I cannot do the crown.
Yeah, but he's probably one of the artists that play the most in Mutex in general.
Yeah, in different projects, like in a lot of different projects. So
I
it's
know,
not always the same thing.
How many projects have you started and successfully finished an album with and stuff?
There's a couple. I mean. Back in the days, there was like Chic Miniature and Egg and Lucy and Rakam. And now I have a thing called Flacen, Les Empires, Flabbergast with him, Guillaume Coutu Dumont.
How do you find time to do so many things? Because you're a family man as well. Yeah. To do so many projects, and they're all excellent. Everything that I've tasted with my ear.
Thank you very much. I don't know. It's for me. It's a great gift to be able to focus solely on music since so many years. And I think I just work on different projects, and when they're ready, something comes out of it. Like it's very rare that I pushed something, so it kind of happens with the need of developing something new. But
he's also a musician. That's his job. I have like 2 jobs. I have the work at Mutek, and I'm also a DJ. But I do production with him. But he's like 5 days in the studio.
Yeah, I'm always in the studio. Yeah.
I've been to Mutek Barcelona many a time. I've thoroughly enjoyed it. I've never been to any of the other ones. How does it compare to the ones in the rest of the world?
Well, the model is a bit the same, where you have like day programming with Q&As, artist talks, master class, and then you have like events at night. It differs in the spaces that they have access to. How the model works, because let's say in Mexico they do one big programming where they have multiple spaces where they can do events. We don't have access to that, but in Montreal we have venues that are very near each other. It's basically
walking distance.
like 3 minutes walking distance. Maybe Guillaume, you have another also.
I mean, I think every Mutek is different because, as he was mentioning, it really focuses on like the local scene, and like so it's like different. There is definitely a similarity because it's a community experience thing. So there's definitely something that relates like to each and every Mutek. But as he's saying, like in Mexico, for example, last time everything happened in the same compound, so everything was like jammed together. In Mutek, there's like that little kind of like treasure hunt thing. And the programming is very vast, and there's a lot of stuff happening at the same time. Most of the years, we kind of go from one show to the other to make sure that we get a taste of everything. It's kind of hard to ingest everything because there's so much happening.
Ooh. But there's similarity. I just want to add there's similarity where the one of the important things first, like the sound is very important because the electronic music depends on like, the sound quality. So this is one thing. And also creating the programs so that artists are put together that have like a like-minded or complement each other, and also like the way you program a night where you go from point A to point B, where there's an evolution. It can be like going up or going up really and then coming down. Like it's all thought about in advance. We really take care of making sure that the projects are put in the right spot for the right audience in the right setting, because...
And this year in Barcelona, it's Mutek Connect, which is a sort of... Well, what is Mutek Connect exactly?
Well, it's just that Alberto was had the project by himself for a long time, and it's difficult to organize something with a small team, and Mutek has always been small, and by itself, I think it was a bit difficult for him to do a proper festival every year. So what he's doing now, I think he's switching to biannual. So every 2 years, he's going to do something that looks bit more like Mutek, and then
Like a proper festival.
And each year he still does bookings that are connected to what we do. So every time he has a project like, let's say, Okelu, or like you would do like Ricardo, it could be under the umbrella of Mutek. So it gives him liberty to be able to adjust, because it's hard work. It's really hard work. And the problem with those kind of events is that you can employ people for a certain amount of time, and then after you have to let them go because you don't have the money. So
and we have on the lineup Rival Consoles, Loides, Yosuko Yukimatsu, Yoshiko Yamane, who I saw the other day in Tangerine Dream. Really enjoyed. Yourselves, loads of other people. What are you looking forward to seeing?
I'm definitely really happy to see Loides, because we booked them we booked him at the festival this year. The Japanese DJ, I'm really looking forward. I saw him at on Sound last year, and I'm really looking forward. I heard he did a Boiler Room not too long ago. That's like, I mean, it's kind of, he's really skilled. And Rival Console, it's been a while since I've seen them play, so I'm really curious. I mean, is it one?
I think it's one guy behind it all, but maybe live. I'm not sure if he brings support. In his setup. I'd really like to see the Rival Consoles.
Well, you have daddy points.
I have daddy points, but
yay! And Guillaume, what were you looking forward to?
A little bit the same. But to be honest, I just wanted to add something that when you were asking about the Mutek Festival, there's one thing about the programming of Mutek, like all around the world, that's still amazed me, like all those years after. Is that even if we mentioned that I'm always in the studio, so I'm not like necessarily out there all the time looking for new stuff, but still, I've been in that scene for so many years, and every year for the programming of the festival, whether it's in Montreal or elsewhere, there's always such a huge amount of artists that I never heard of, and it doesn't cease to amaze me, because it focuses on live music, so it's not necessarily something that you're gonna have access to, like out of the blue like this, and so every time I'm just like kind of rolling with the programming and getting like surprised and discovering people all the time.
I've noticed over in the latest years when festivals have become such a big business. Before, I have the feeling that festivals would be more risky, and most of the lineup would be unknown, and you would go with the encouragement of discovering. But now I notice that a lot of festivals, even maybe not so much Mutek, but other festivals that used to be more about supporting the vanguard, they're caving into having to have a big name or a recognizable name.
I think it's true outside of the festival world as well, like in music in general, like risk-taking is something that's becoming a bit. It's hard to rise above the noise, and like so, if you want to get some attraction and attention, then you have to go with certain sure shots. But again, the fact that like Mutek, for example, focuses purely on live music is something that's very different.
It's funny you mentioned that, because I was watching an interview with an author that I really like, a writer called Ted Gioia, which is like, he writes mainly about music, and he was telling that the risk-taking right now is to a point where the labels, the major labels, are to a point where they did so many things that are popular, or he was mentioning the same thing as the Marvel movies. Right now, they got to a point where they saturated the market to a point where they try to do new ones, they don't work because people are tired of it. So so basically the culture in general is getting to a point where everybody will have to take risk again.
Yeah,
interesting.
But the main thing is that when you do an event like this, you kind of need locomotive or artists that are not groundbreaking, I would say, but like important. Or that. When we build a program, we always think about like how do we build it, and sometimes we surround one artist or a couple that's the way we work. Like we're like, okay, this is mainly the idea of the programming. Let's build around it. So we try, because we definitely need to sell tickets in a certain way, like everybody does, and the way you sell tickets now changed a lot since the pandemic. You know, like the people are buying their tickets very late. You never know how. I mean, Primavera is maybe it may be different because they sold out. But it's because the trust is there now. We are still building it because we're not pushing for major artists. Basically, what I try for is always the new, the discovery, what's happening next. And but you need those people that are established and that are helping you in a certain way. But there's a lot of times where you worked with artists and then 5 years later you can't even afford them. So that's also happening.
Let's talk about Flabbergast, your musical duo. You say, I think it's on your Bandcamp, stylistically, no musical influence is prohibited. What about bagpipes?
I'm not averse to bagpipes at all. Actually, I just produced a track for a Tunisian artist, and we used the traditional bagpipe from Tunisia, which is basically like an hollowed out goat skin.
No, but it comes from the fact that sometimes when we're in the studio, we test ourselves. Let's say, okay, let's do something around this, or like let's sample something.
Let's do something we never did before. So let's try to get like influence somewhere and try to make it our own. And that's how the album that we're launching this week, that's kind of how it came about. During the pandemic, at one point during those 2 years, like doing dance floor stuff kind of felt a bit silly just for ourselves in the studio.
But it's always been like that.
It's always been like that. But like specifically during that time, we were kind of feeling that, okay, let's try, different avenues. But we have so many other projects as well. We have like a kind of like more experimental down-tempo hip-hop stuff that we're working on as well. And I mean, Vince is an encyclopedia of music, So, and I really enjoy listening to music as well. So we listen to various styles and trying to incorporate in some ways.
And even sometimes we just because I'm also a freak about gear and synths and stuff like that. And I bought like a really nice organ for like $60, like an Electone Yamaha organ with three keyboards. And we, at one point, we're like, okay, let's do music with only this instrument. And so we started. So we have like, I remember reading a book of Questlove where he was talking about creative ways of working. And sometimes he was saying, you have to change the way you approach what you're doing. Sometimes and sometimes magic happens. It doesn't work all the time, but sometimes I'll have an idea. It happens often where I come with a sample with like, hey, we should sample this album or this music or this song particularly. And sometimes we start with that. Sometimes it's part of the song. Sometimes you start as a bass and then you let it go, and then it's not even really clear that it was based on this. But it's just that we just get bored if we're doing the same thing. And even sometimes we're like, okay, this sounds a bit too much like what we're doing, and we try to push a bit ourselves to do something different.
Looking for the next gag.
Yeah.
Because this is one thing. Like, you mentioned, that no influence is prohibited, but also I think you mentioned that specifically you're influenced by electronic music, but also jazz, hip hop, and contemporary music. How does hip hop, for example, manifest itself in what you do?
Well, you have to wait for the album that we're working on. That's like, it's going to be very, very clear, I think. But you get like musical ideas from all over the place. Like if I studied electroacoustic composition and like more like contemporary stuff as well. So there is definitely some phrasing that you could integrate in what you're doing, a different type of instrumentation, for example, that you could get an idea out of. There's always like, inspiration when it comes to music can come from so many, and I don't want to be like, a psychopop thing, but inspiration can come from everywhere, you know, like from something you read, something you hear, something you...
Yeah, and I came to music basically by the instrumental hip hop scene from the end of the 90s, you know, like the Ninja Tune, Mo Wax, all these. I was really influenced by that when I started playing music, because I was not a producer. I never made music before I bought a computer. I went to school and I was like, okay, I'm gonna learn by myself. So I started very slowly. Took me a couple of years, but I have a clear idea what I wanted to do, and it was never like I want to do techno music only. I always liked all these kinds of music, and you get inspired by it. I mean, we did a song where we sampled Neil Young, which I never thought that we would be able to do a techno song with Neil Young, but it worked.
And you remixed Kool Keith.
Yeah.
Oh, that's pretty amazing.
Yeah, that was fun.
Yeah,
was
it
fun.
was a friend of ours that had made an album, an artist called Bruno Pronsato, that basically, because the album of Kool Keith is an instrumental album that our friend Bruno Pronsato did, and then he sent the tracks to Kool Keith, and Kool Keith accepted to do it. And then a friend of mine, the label manager, contacted us because he heard some of our music, and he asked us to do a remix. It was.
It's always fun to have a thumbs up of Kool Keith on your Instagram. You know, like, hey, thanks, guys.
But it was tough to do.
Because the original tempo of the track is quite low, and we wanted to do like a dance floor thing with it. So it's always tricky, you know, like it doesn't feel so accelerated and like,
we really
unnatural.
wanted, because we really liked the lyrics, so we really wanted to
use it
keep
for real,
use it as a whole, you know, like everything is there, the whole song. But it was a nice. But those are really, really interesting remix to do. You know, when you have like
a bit of a challenge with
And you got feedback. He liked it.
We posted. I remember posting like when it came out. I just posted it, and I was like, tagged him, and he sent us a message like, "Oh, thanks, it's cool." I was like,
oh, sweet.
Thanks, Kool Keith.
Yeah, and you know, you guys came up in the golden age of record stores. You know, you worked in one. Did you open one?
No.
I did.
I went to his.
That's basically how I managed to put myself in the music industry, because I went, like when I was like 22 or something, 21, I went to a rave. And it was like the sky opened to me. So I was like, I was not going for that. But I said, so I quit everything. I quit swimming. I quit university. I went back to live in Montreal. And I was like, okay, I have to find a job. So I started working in a used CD shop. But I had a friend that was kind of a mentor for me. And he opened a record shop after. So I went to work there. And basically, it was really a golden age. It was really fun to go, and every city was a hunt. It was so nice to come to Barcelona back in the days, like 2003, 2004. There's so many record shops.
And all the communities that were forming around record shops all around the world. Yeah. I mean, you still have that. It's just much more rare than it used to be. Yeah. But there's always like a little, group of people. Next week, we're launching the album in Paris around the Yoyaku record store. And it's a good example. They really have something organized around, and they have the art gallery, and they have like, it's something that you don't get when you go buy your records and whatever,
online.
We need to talk about this album. But before we do, swimming? Were you like a...
I swam for 15 years. I was Canadian. I was good in the Canadian level. I was not...
Really?
But I at one point
up until that rave.
No, but it is a tough sport, because like you get to a point where you're good, but I think I finish swimming when I think Michael Phelps was starting, and I remember there was this gap between like the really, really good ones.
How many gold medals?
The best I did was third in the national Canadian.
Wow!
So it's kind of good, but it's. But what I learned a lot from that is
But Michael Phelps can't play record.
No, exactly.
I don't think so.
I don't know. The
dedication.
But it's the dedication you need to do a sport like this, where you swim every week. 6 days a week, sometimes 2 times a day, plus the training. But it gives you a discipline that if you apply after. When I went and I applied it on like searching for music and devoting myself to music, it was I was unstoppable. Like I could spend like.
It's also called OCD, but
yeah, exactly.
So this album, right? What can you tell us about the album?
Yes.
It's Consolation and Constellation.
Nice.
And it's coming out on Chapelle 14, which is the label affiliated with the art gallery around the Yoyaku record store. And it's a fun project. It's very different from what we released before. It's more experimental, a bit trip-up-ish.
It goes a bit in the
different direction.
Yeah.
It's definitely not, 4-on-the-floor oriented. And
it just came because at one point we kind of like sit down and then take all the music, because we had like probably like 200 songs made like within the last 2 or 3 years. Yeah. So at one point we're like, okay, let's classify a bit and see and then we started putting. I mean, we never had the idea of doing an album like this, but like we
realized there was an album hidden in there, and that we didn't think about.
I mean, for sure, like we're the two same person making music, so they kind of like work together because we have an approach to music that makes it fit together. But it was never like, okay, let's sit down and write an album. It was more like, oh wow, okay, so
it's there.
It's there, and then we shopped for it. We sent it to 2 friends, and one of them took it. So
I warned him, like it's the first album that Vince is gonna release, and I told him like, don't get used to that. It's not usually that easy.
I'm looking at it now on the Yoyaku website. It says electronic IDM indie jazz. What's the indie in there?
I don't know. I think they decided.
Maybe I should call the guy from Yoyaku.
No, I think they decided to, because at one point they asked us if we wanted what tags we wanted, and I think they added this one. I'm not sure about the indie. It's definitely not indie rock. There's
a couple of synths that sounds like distorted guitar, so maybe.
But no,
it's because on Beatport the indie disco tag has helped to sell a lot of tracks. I think. And sometimes you listen, it's like this. I don't know what's indie about this.
Yeah, you have to talk to the marketing department of Flabbergast.
What's because I always have indie rock, but it's
the indie when is it indie disco? The tag on Beatport, it's the kind of stuff that Errol Alkan can put in a DJ set. It might be a techno track, but it goes very well with a Vitalik track. Something that. So I think I figured out what can.
Well, I'm not sure you would mix any of those tracks with like. Well, maybe with a disco track. Yeah, maybe whatever.
Or
you can do
it. I don't know. Or it can fit. If it can fit in an Apple commercial, then it can be an indie.
What's fun for us is that it's quite different from what we put out before, and I thought it's kind of a nice first album for the project. Being like, here's what we can do as well.
But remember, it was tough because they asked us what kind of music it is, and we were like,
yeah, but it's always been like that. I remember even in the past when somebody's asking you like, what kind of music it is, I'm like, it's your job, guys. Like, I did the music. Please classify it.
But if I may say so, you're very good at writing about your own music. For example, 1115 Dream, a recent EP, you described as reality blurring with virtuality, minds wandering through surreal landscapes as if the clock of the subconscious had synchronized across the dreaming masses. That's beautiful.
No, that's Guillaume.
Had you had a big night out of that?
No, but
I always think it. Like you remember back in the days, like when you would get like tons of promos and there was all those like one sheet. And they were describing the music like rollicking percussion and all that, and it's like it was always the same thing basically. Yeah. And you're like, really, am I getting like a clear picture of what the music is just by reading the same, synth tab? And it's like it's kind of boring. And I always love to do like those kind of a bit more cryptic thing that kind of triggers your imagination and curiosity, and then you want to go and listen to it.
Yes.
A little bit.
Yeah, I used to do that as well for my label because I used to have a label called Music Risque, and the cover artwork already by itself was kind of
triggering curiosity for sure.
Okay, what the fuck is this?
Yeah.
But I remember writing and exactly the same thing, because I couldn't stand when they were describing every song, or like, especially like with the same like rolling,
like cookie cutter way, you know, like it's everything. It's like no, I don't have an idea of what it's gonna sound like, you know.
So I remember having a lot of fun when somebody would write something and it would make it would be more poetic than descriptive, you know. I mean, when you do an album, it's a bit different because you need to do that for the radios, or so that they can have something to say back, you know. But for a 12-inch, we just think it's just fun. And I mean, the title came from
and there's also something about like electronic music, oftentimes without lyrics, so you don't have necessarily a message going through. And I think it's always a nice way to, you know, if you do music and you have like, you know, not necessarily a concept, like I don't want to go as far as a concept, but like if you have like a state of mind that the music was made with, maybe it's nice to find a way to, you know, share it in some ways, you know.
But what did the title came? It was something that you
11:15 for which one? For
11:15.
I don't remember. I think I saw that like in a sci-fi thing, and somebody said like it's 11:15 in your dream, and I was like, that's kind of cool, you know. Like, what does it mean really? I'm not sure, and but there's definitely like a kind of sci-fi-ish thing with the label that we're doing together, which is called Copy Coller.
You're creating a label, a new label.
Yeah, we did. We have two EPs on it, and a digital EP as well, with the organ that he was talking about before. His name is Roberto. That's the name of the organ.
Okay.
And so
very important to have a name.
This one is called Robo Johan. This computer here.
Oh, here you go. And we have a new organ now, Elka organ. Her name is Stella. So there's another one coming up that's going to be named Stella.
But you see, you between the both of you, you've really covered every kind of profession or activity you can do within music. So I'm interested to know, knowing, especially in electronic music, how the artifact of a track on vinyl, or two tracks, side A, side B, can have an eternal space, in the conscience. What's the point of recording a long album when electronic artists have needed less?
I still believe a lot in the album. I still listen to albums entirely, and that's how we probably all four of us grew up listening to music. Putting an album and listening to it from the beginning till the end. It's something that came up with the medium itself, when there was a possibility of recording LPs, because it didn't exist before that. You know, it was always tracks or like the 45s. It came with the LP, but it came as a new way of expanding the storytelling in some ways, and I always enjoy it. Like there's definitely something that transpires from a full-length album that you really dive into something that's maybe more personal, or when it's not just a collection of tracks. And I think but nowadays, with people like really listening passively to music, putting a playlist and let it play, it's kind of something that's it's being forgotten a little bit, and I think it's worth it in some case. I mean, I don't think all the music should be part of a longer continuum, like an album. But if you have something in mind and you have like a space of mind that you want to explore, I think the album is still like a very amazing option for artists.
And certain albums are impossible to listen to without having the album.
Dark Side of the Moon. Sorry, I like every time I connect the studio, I play Dark Side of the Moon at the studio, and I cannot stop it until it's finished.
Yeah.
And the same, let's say, in hip hop, like Donuts by Jay Dilla.
It doesn't make sense when
if
you take
listen
it apart,
to one track, it's like it's 2 minutes and it doesn't make sense. But within the and even I would say Moody Man in electronic music, when he makes an album, it's a storytelling.
Yeah, you almost feel bad to stop it at one point. You're like,
Kendrick Lamar, like To Pimp a Butterfly is one of the albums like I really really like, and I remember listening to it from the beginning. And you not only you have to do it because there's a story being told as you go.
I think in some ways it can relate to like a long time ago when people were going to the orchestra, symphonic orchestra, to get like a whole thing, which was much more popular back in the days. It was not just for the elite, and like people were going at the concert and would absorb large amount of music that were like one piece, and I think we were like, I think human was always like interested in like getting like diving deeper into something,
escaping.
like an extended period of time, an escape in some ways.
I mean, you don't read a book just one chapter.
Exactly.
And even I would say short stories, when they're put in together, it's important the way you put the stories one after the other, even if they're separated, and they work together as a. I think it's very important, and like he said, like I barely listen to music if it's not an album, because sometimes like I'm asked my girlfriends, like, I put something, and I always put an album. I can't like go and put a playlist. I feel like it's kind of.
Can I ask a very basic question?
Of course. Please.
The name Flabbergast, where did it come from? Is it because you aim to leave people flabbergasted?
It's as you probably know, it's like it's a very old word. That was kind of forgotten, I guess, for a while. In Quebec, it became part of the slang, especially for the older generation. My mother used to say that all the time when I was a kid, and so it's something that everyone around the world can understand, I think. But it's also very specific to the Quebec society.
Because we were French Canadians, but like the English came, so we got a lot of there's a lot of words that we use in French that comes from the English. Let's say,
and we're gonna conjugate it in French. But
so
also
you can
use like the past tense of
and even some words were changed within the time. They became part of the language. Let's say a toilet was called a back house, and then in French, in Quebecois, it's called bécosse. But it comes like from this really within the time a lot of words, and this is a good example because. A lot of people use that, like, oh my God, I was flabbergasted. Like it's more used as an adjective.
Flabbergasté.
Exactly.
J'étais flabbergasté.
So
Exactly.
you can use it like that.
That's amazing.
I love it. No, it's like.
But it sounded good as well. I mean,
it's a fun word. I think it's always like.
But there was another French duo that did some music. We didn't know when we started it. But there is another French duo that did some, like maybe 2 or 3 records back in the days. I think
but everything exists in triplets in the Matrix, man.
Yeah, exactly. It's difficult to.
And there is a drag queen DJ called Flabbergast. Flabbergast something, because I looked Flabbergast DJ.
That's actually Vince.
Nope. I'd love to, but I'm not.
You'd be a tall one, like it would be amazing.
I would.
She looks like Divine from the John Waters movie a little bit. That's her aesthetic, but it's Flabbergast forever, forever.
Nice.
Well,
maybe we do a feature. Flabbergast feature Flabbergast.
Forever. It would be an interesting.
Nice.
It's, I don't know what style, but I'm imagining that kind of disco energy.
We'll get in touch.
Yeah.
So you're playing tomorrow night. What time? Do we know what time?
That's a good question.
But it's like
third to last. So there's
a lot of stuff happening during that night. So the Nizza is opening, and we play downstairs.
I think we're playing from 12:45 to 2:30.
Hour.
No. Sorry, no. To 12:45 to 2. I think something like that. And
I yield the floor.
or 1:45 to 3, and then Loidis is playing for an hour, and then Sugar Free is finishing from 4 to 6. So I think,
And what's your live set like?
It's we play different type of live. Like most of the time when we play in clubs, we do a hybrid session. So Vince plays records and I play live, and we mash it up together. And it's very focused around improvisation.
Very improvised.
Yeah, in that case, what we play tomorrow is really a live set that we've built with solely our music and with machines and all that.
So it's
jazz.
a classic setup. He has a computer, a drum machine. I have two drum machines, a synth. He has like
There's quite a lot of
he has a
toys
percussion,
on the stage.
and then he plays keys as well. So we have a lot of stuff.
Because I can imagine you don't do normal. You're not going for like, often you see a live set and they can be great. Some bloke with a computer or someone non-bloke with a computer, and it's great. But I can imagine you're not just doing that. You're not kind of looking.
Oh no. But
I do use a computer a lot because it's such a. In my experience, only playing live, I never DJ. So the computer is like such a quick way of adding new stuff and like renewing the live set like super quickly, because you don't have to load all the samples and stuff like, it's you do music, you chip it in parts and put it in the computer, and then you can actually perform it. So there's definitely a part of it that's centered around the computer.
Yeah.
But it's still very much broken down in parts. So, anything can happen. But there's also a lot of, toys around to be able to just, go higher when you want to go higher and lower when you go
the hybrid is more like a DJ set, I would say, because we can go completely different directions. Like I remember one time in Berlin, we played 2 shows in the same day, and when we arrived to one place, it was disco house
party.
So we said, okay, let's play housey, disco-y, and we can do that. And then we played at CDV after, which was more like minimal tech house, and we played a completely different style. So we can adjust really easily, and we can go.
The spectrum is a bit wider.
Yeah, and it's.
But
fun.
Tomorrow is really live.
Yeah,
our stuff.
It's just our composition, and mainly when we improvise, there's a lot of our music, but it's mixed with, and I have to be very aware of syncing, because it's very difficult to play with a computer, and because everything is moving all the time, so I can't really leave the turntable. I have to be really on it all the time to make sure that it's fun as well, because it brings this thing of DJing where it moves. It's never synced perfectly, but it sometimes
it is.
It's like a body of water.
But the resolution in music is a nice relief. Like when somebody loses a bit the tempo, but it brings it back.
Yeah, it gives a little bit of funk also. I mean,
exactly, and it's kind of what brings the human thing into music.
Yeah.
And tonight as well at Bridge 48, you're doing a talk, a listening session for the album.
Yeah, in Atmos. Actually, it's going to be in 5.1 there, because we mixed the album in Atmos, and so it's going to be available in Atmos as well.
Yeah, we were really lucky to have the chance to do that in Montreal. There's a place called Centre Phi, and they've been helping artists to do, because they have a studio in Atmos, and they were really kind enough so that they gave us 3 days to mix the album. So we arrived, and it was a really special, very fun experience. It's really special, because if you spend 3 days in the Atmos studio and then you go back to your stereo studio, you're like, oh my God, okay,
I'm ruined.
Well, it's a different exercise, and I still think that to do a powerful stereo mix is somehow more complex than doing an Atmos one, just because you're asking 2 speakers to do the job for all of them, so everything needs to be like at its right place. Yeah. You have obviously more firepower when you use 10 speakers plus the sub, so it's always a but it's a different thing. Yeah, but it was a very nice experience. It was the first time I was doing a album mixing.
And we'll be doing a show in June in 5.1, I think.
No, in Atmos. Yeah, okay. In Montreal at Centre Phi.
Yeah, so it's really
Because this place, I haven't been Bridge 48.
Yes, you have. We did my book launch there. That's
there
that place. You've headlined.
The one in Poblenou.
Yes.
Yeah.
That was it.
Yes.
Oh,
Yeah,
because okay, I didn't pick up the state of the art kind of hi-fi thing when we were there.
Oh, it was state of the art. Us two talking
It was
nonsense.
us two talking about your book.
Yeah.
You wrote a book on Daft Punk's discovery.
There you go.
Oh, well,
Yeah.
okay. I saw that book at the shop in Amsterdam at Rush Hour.
Distribution. Thank you. Thank you.
Yeah, I saw it. I'll check it out because I just finished. I'm finishing the book, the tribute that was made, the Pogo Disco Pogo.
I
tribute.
also wrote quite a lot of that one.
Oh yeah!
Ah,
Wow, great!
look,
It's a fantastic
You've worked
book.
together without realizing.
Yeah.
I love it. Love it. I love it.
They played very disco when we landed in Paris yesterday
Oh yeah.
in the plane.
Oh yeah.
Really?
I thought it was like, it's a fun little
The
thing.
French know how
the
to
French
recognize
touch
their...
when you land.
They're
Nice
good with that,
touch.
the French, aren't they? They're
Very good. Very
But
good.
it's funny. I'm in a Daft Punk phase right now. I mean, they were one of the reason I started listening to electronic music. It was like this. Remember, it was the Homework, the album
Yeah.
on CD, and then Chemical
fantastic.
Brothers. I'm a bit less Chemical Brothers now. I'm still, but every time, I mean, Guillaume and I were huge fans,
Yeah.
and I kind of left it after. I was like, this, like the album is.
No, it's always good to go back.
And then I went back. I was like, "What the fuck was I thinking? Not liking those albums."
Had I known, I'd have brought you a book.
Yeah,
but I didn't. It's free tonight.
And Bridge 48.
I think so.
Yeah.
I
I think they do free.
Sorry,
events.
we don't have a lot of those details. Huh?
Yeah, no, we're a bit bad.
Well, that's what we're here for.
Thank you.
Exactly.
Tonight-
Looks free to me as far as I can see.
Yeah,
General
yeah,
admission
no.
0.00. So
no, I think it's free.
and then tomorrow, and then the launch party, which is in Paris. I just had this out next Friday.
Yeah, next Friday.
Nouveau
exactly.
Casino.
Yes.
Which is
Yeah,
Yeah, and we
Casino.
do the gallery before that, Chapelle 14.
So at the gallery, we do more the album.
Yeah.
Like we do, it's a first try of playing the album, and then
Nouveau Casino is party time.
It's more like party music.
That sounds like a lovely plan.
Lovely
Yeah.
I wish I was
plan.
in Paris.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I love that.
Springtime in Paris.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
When you warm up the night by going to a gallery at 7 and there's like there's an
Ooh, little
interesting
nibbles. Any nibbles?
nibbles, some
Oh.
wine.
What's
There
this?
has to be. It's
Ah,
France.
Let's see.
Of
if we-
course.
Bit of
yes, I hope-
cheese. Oh, you can tell I'm
Come
hungry.
on, yes.
But and then Friday night the big night, loads
The
of
big
things. The
guns.
album comes out. Anything more? We should.
No, but thank you very much for having us. It was it's great to talk to
Do
you
we
guys.
have more?
Do we have more? There's also the Circus Company EP coming out.
Yeah, we have some music, and then I'm deep in the programming of the festival at the moment. Because we're in Mutek in Montreal is end of August, so we're finishing. We're going to do a second announcement of artists next month on the 13th of May. And yeah, we have a lot of projects. We're going on tour a bit in the States in May. And a lot
Loads
of
of
music.
stuff.
Yeah, we
Yeah.
have a lot of stuff. And we have to finish this album we talked about that's more down-tempo. That's another project we have to finish.
We'll send it to you when
Yeah.
it's done.
Please
Perfect.
do.
Yeah.
I just think Cassie, Slickback, Machina, Upsani and Valentina, Magaletti, Martin Booty-Spoon. This is all Mutek
Oh,
2025.
Booty-Spoon.
out
Martin
in
Booty-Spoon.
Montreal.
Yeah, he's from Montreal. He's doing a live show this year. He's a collaborator. He's been working with us for a couple of years. When he's not making music, sometimes he does visuals as well. But I think right now he's he has so much work with music. I think he left a bit the visual aspect. But it's fun when you have like artists like this that you start working with them quite early, and they grow with the festival, and we really like that because that's one of the purpose of the festival is also helping artists, because we get funding sometimes to bring artists in Europe and to bring them in the different Mutecs.
Mm-hmm.
So that's one thing that we really push forward. It's trying to like follow artists within their evolution.
Oh, one last question. Is there a White Wale for you since you've been programming Mutek?
Oh,
What's a White Wale?
Like the one that got
quelque
away.
chose que tu voudrais programmer, mais que t'as pas.
Like Moby Dick, like
the one that escaped.
one
But I mean, just like this, like we really wanted to do a Attacker. We're gonna do it this year. but it's outside the festival because we tried to do a one-off. They didn't want to do it because when they do a one-off, they ask for a lot of money, which I understand because it's pain in the ass for them. But they're going to different. They're touring. I think they have like 20 dates in 28 days.
Yeah.
It's quite intense what they do. But that was one that we always. I mean, I would have loved to do like the floating points when he did his Elenia album. There's a couple because we had him like I think he did his first live at Mutek in Montreal like back in the days. Do I have other ones like? Oh, that's a good question. Do I? Do you? I mean, there's a lot, but it's out of the blue like this. I always forget certain things. I mean, for sure. Like,
You're pretty good at hunting. Let's put it that way.
We wanted.
They usually nail the white whale.
Yeah, but like this year, we just saw that E-Dancer Kevin Sanderson was doing a live, and we were able to. We got in touch, and he was really keen on playing in Montreal. And I mean, we're definitely not the biggest festival, but he was really happy. And this for us is more important than trying to search for a huge artist. It's more when you get an artist that knows about the festival and he knows that it's the right context and he knows he's going to be well treated. The sound is going to be good. He's going to be placed with like-minded artists.
And play for a receptive crowd,
and that for us is most of the time is really, really satisfying, much more than going hunting.
Yeah.
But if you have any things you think we should be booking, I'm always open to.
What was
to
that
idea.
Jeff Mills project with the other two musicians? And
we tried that as well, but he was not available this year. We try every tour. 2, 3, 4 years because Jeff Mills is still relevant now. That's the great thing about this artist is how relevant he still is and how his output in music. I mean, it's not all masterpiece, but it's always amazing, on the point. And I like his approach because he's very versatile, but still you can feel Jeff Mills in every project that he does.
Yeah.
Tomorrow Comes the Harvest.
Tomorrow Comes the Harvest.
That's the one he was touring with.
Yeah, super. Anyway, guys, it's been such a pleasure.
Thank you so much for coming.
Thank you, guys. Really appreciate spending time and talking with you guys.
Yeah, enjoy Barcelona. You've been here all week and stuff, and you have an incredible night tonight with the listening party and the talk. Tomorrow at Nizza, one of the best clubs in Europe.
Yes, it is.
And
You're right. Totally
It's
right.
true.
It's true. We really like playing there.
Indeed.
We played like 3
last
two
time
times.
was fantastic.
Yeah.
Fantastic.
We played during Mutek, and another time we played without.
That was
Mutek.
great.
Yeah.
Muy bien.
Great to be here.
Merci beaucoup.
Merci.
Thank you. Gracias a ustedes. Ahora a continuación pasamos a Song Chart.